The awakening the salvage drone scanner pinged for the third time in as many minutes. Foreman Thiel of the Valkyrie Salvage Corporation checked his readouts and felt his tertiary heart skip a beat. The object buried deep within the Shroud Nebula was massive, far larger than any asteroid had a right to be. "Crew, redirect all drones to Sector 9, Thgal commanded through his communicator. His mandibles clicked nervously as more data streamed across his screen. Metal, refined alloys, and something else, something that made his scales itch with ancient fear. The Valkyrie had built an empire, on salvaging the remnants of dead civilizations. They knew what old metal looked like, what forgotten stations felt like. But this was different. This felt alive. 3 days of careful excavation revealed the truth. What Thiel had found was not a station or an asteroid outpost. It was a ship, a human ship. The news spread through the Valkyrie. Crew like wildfire. Humans, the species that had nearly conquered the galaxy 4.5 centuries ago. The species that had been locked behind a quarantine wall ever since. The species every child learned about in history class as a warning of what happens when a race grows too ambitious, too violent, too hungry for the stars. "This is impossible," breathed scientist Yerla, her sensor array sweeping across the vessel's exposed hull. "The records say all human. Military vessels were accounted for after the containment wars. Every ship was either destroyed or returned to Earth." Thgal stared at her. Ancient writing emerging from beneath layers of ice and space dust. He could not read human languages, but he recognized the symbols of military designation. Perhaps the records were wrong. The ship was beautiful in a terrifying way. Even damaged and dormant, it projected power. The hull stretched over 3 kilometers in length, bristling with weapon ports that gaped like the mouths of sleeping predators. Hangar bays large enough to swallow Thickel's entire salvage vessel stood open to the void. "Run the identification markers through the database," Thickel ordered. Minutes later, Yerla's voice trembled. "Foreman, the database has a match. This vessel is designated UHSV Eternal Sentinel. Classification: Supercarrier. Status: lost in action during the Battle of Teton's Gate, 452 years ago. The Eternal Sentinel." Thiel had heard the name in stories. It was the ship that had held off 7 Council dreadnoughts long enough for human colony ships to escape into deep space. The ship that had vanished into the Shroud Nebula with a third of the Council's attacking fleet in pursuit. No one had ever returned from that battle. "Contact the Council immediately," Thickel said. "This is beyond our authority." What Thgal did not know was that his scanners had done more than map the ship. The energy beams his drones used to cut through ice had penetrated the hull, reaching sensors that had waited centuries for any sign of external power. Those sensors had awakened something deep in the Sentinel's core. Inside the frozen tomb of the supercarrier, ancient systems stirred. Power trickled through damaged circuits like blood through sleeping veins. An artificial intelligence designated Oracle ran diagnostic checks for the first time in 452 years. Most systems were damaged beyond immediate repair, but some remained functional. Life support, minimal. Weapons, operational. Cryogenic systems, critical but stable. Oracle made calculations. The crew needed awakening. The mission was incomplete. Threat assessment was required. In the cryogenic chambers deep within the Sentinel's heart, Captain Elena Vasquez felt warmth return to her body. It was agony. Every nerve screamed as frozen tissues thawed. Her lungs burned with the first breath of recycled air. Her heart struggled to remember its rhythm. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Vasquez forced her eyes open and read the display above her pod. Date: 452 years after suspension. Crew revival. Priority Alpha personnel only. Ship status: critical. 452 years. Everyone she had known was dead. Earth had continued without her. The war she had fought was ancient history. Oracle, Vasquez croaked, her voice raw. Status report. The AI's calm voice filled the chamber. Captain Vasquez, welcome back. I regret to inform you that our situation is complicated. We are surrounded by unknown vessels. Cryogenic systems have failed for 78% of crew complement. I am attempting revival of all surviving personnel. Vasquez pulled herself from the pod, her legs barely supporting her weight. Around her, other pods were opening. She recognized faces. Commander Marcus Stone, her tactical officer. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, chief engineer. Dr. Amara Okoi, head of medical. Others she had served with, fought beside, trusted with her life. How many? Vasquez asked quietly. 2,247 crew members survived cryogenic suspension. 12,753 did not. Vasquez closed her eyes. Nearly 13,000 dead. Her crew, her responsibility. But she could mourn later. Right now, 2,000 survivors needed her to be strong. Get everyone to their stations. I want a full damage report within the hour. And Oracle, what do you mean by unknown vessels? The ships surrounding us do not match any designs in my database from our era. However, their energy signatures are consistent with Council technology. They appear to be observing us. Stone appeared at her side, his face grim. Captain, if the Council is here, that means we lost. Vasquez nodded slowly. It means the war ended. Whether we lost or not remains to be seen. Come on, we need to reach the bridge. The journey through the Sentinel's corridors was a nightmare. Sections were sealed off, exposed to vacuum. Others were damaged beyond recognition. Emergency lighting flickered. The proud supercarrier that had once been humanity's greatest achievement now felt like a dying animal, but it was still her ship, and it was still alive. The bridge was in better condition than the rest. Emergency power had kept primary systems protected. Vasquez settled into the captain's chair and surveyed her skeleton crew. Too few faces. Too many empty stations. Engineering, what do we have? Tanaka's voice came through the comm. Main reactor is cold, but intact. I can bring it online, but it will take time. We have emergency power only. Weapons are functional, but limited without the reactor. Life support is holding in maybe 30% of the ship. Weapons status? Stone checked his console. Magnetic accelerator cannons operational. Missile batteries loaded. Point defense active. Nuclear arsenal intact. Captain, we can still fight if we need to. Vasquez allowed herself a small smile. Humans built weapons to last. Let's hope we don't need to. Oracle, scan the vessels around us. What are we dealing with? 8 large warships consistent with dreadnought classification. Multiple smaller craft. They maintain a perimeter at 8,000 kilometers. No hostile actions detected, but all vessels have weapons charged. They're waiting to see what we'll do, Stone observed. Then let's not disappoint them. Open all channels, all frequencies. A young ensign at communications nodded nervously. Channels open, Captain. Vasquez stood, straightening her uniform. It was wrinkled and stained from centuries of storage, but it was still the uniform of the United Humanity Space Vessel Fleet. Attention, unknown vessels. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UHSV Eternal Sentinel. We mean no harm, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. Asterisk, asterisk, silence filled the bridge. Seconds stretched into minutes. Then a response came, in perfect English. Captain Vasquez, this is High Admiral Zoreth of the Galactic Council Defense Fleet. Your vessel was declared lost 452 years ago. Humanity was confined to Earth after the containment wars. You are in violation of the quarantine protocols. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Vasquez felt anger rise in her chest. High Admiral, we did not violate any protocols. We were asleep, and I do not recognize the authority of any council that would cage an entire species. Captain, you do not understand the current situation. Then enlighten me, Admiral. What happened to humanity? What happened to Earth? A pause. Humanity ... survives. The war ended with the Treaty of Soul. Earth remains inhabited, but humanity is forbidden from leaving their home system. It has been this way for over 4 centuries. 400 years. Humanity had been imprisoned for 400 years. Vasquez looked at her crew and saw the same rage she felt reflected in their eyes. Captain, a new voice cut in. This one was younger, also speaking English. Captain Vasquez, my name is Dr. James Chun. I'm human. I work for the Council's Xenarchaeology Division. Please, you need to understand, things have changed. Earth has changed. A human working for the Council. Vasquez filed that information away. Dr. Chun, I would very much like to speak with you. Admiral Zorith, we will not power down. We will not surrender. But we are willing to talk. Send Dr. Chun over in an unarmed shuttle. Alone. That is unacceptable. Those are my terms, Admiral. You have 1 hour to decide. Vasquez cut the transmission. Stone looked at her with concern. Captain, if they attack, they won't. Not yet. They're curious. They want to know what we know, what technologies we have. And they're afraid. Vasquez smiled coldly. They should be. Oracle's voice interrupted. Captain, I am detecting a coded transmission from Earth's direction. It appears to be using old military encryption. Put it through. Static filled the bridge, then a voice emerged. Older, weary, but unmistakably human. Eternal Sentinel, this is Admiral Catherine Ross, Earth Defense Command. We've been waiting for you. Stay alive. Help is coming. Vasquez felt something she had not felt since awakening. Hope. Oracle. Can we respond? Yes, but the Council will detect it. I don't care. Send this message. We're not going anywhere. Humanity endures. As the message transmitted, Vasquez looked at her crew. They were tired, damaged, outnumbered. But they were human. And humans did not surrender. The hour passed. A small shuttle detached from one of the Council vessels and approached the Sentinel. Vasquez watched it dock, then made her way to the hangar bay. Dr. James Chun was younger than she expected, perhaps 30 years old. He wore Council civilian clothing, but something in his eyes reminded Vasquez of soldiers she had known. He looked at the Sentinel's scarred interior with wonder and sadness. Welcome aboard, Dr. Chun. Walk with me. As they moved through the corridors, Chun spoke quietly. Captain, you need to understand. Earth is not what you remember. After the war, the Council placed restrictions on us. No military fleet. No colony ships. Monitored communications. We've lived in a cage for 4 centuries. And you work for the people who built that cage. Chun met her eyes. I work to survive, Captain. We all do. But that doesn't mean we've forgotten. Every human child learns about the Sentinel. About you. About the crews who fought so that humanity might live. Did we? Did humanity live? We survived. We endured. We waited. Chun pulled out a small data chip. This contains everything that happened after you disappeared. The treaty, the restrictions, and the resistance. Vasquez took the chip. Resistance? Not everyone on Earth accepted the cage, Captain. For 400 years, in secret, some of us have been preparing. building, waiting for a sign that humanity's time would come again. Chun smiled. "You're that sign, Captain. The eternal sentinel returned from death. The galaxy is watching now, and they're afraid." Back on the bridge, Vasquez inserted the data chip and began to read. The history of humanity's confinement. The generations who grew up never seeing the stars. The secret facilities where humans had been building ships, preparing for a day when the cage might break. "Captain," Stone interrupted, "the Council fleet is receiving reinforcements. We now have 12 dreadnoughts in the area." Vasquez looked at the tactical display. 12 ships, each one powerful enough to destroy her damaged vessel. But she was not afraid. She was angry. "Oracle, what's our weapons range?" "Our magnetic accelerator cannons can reach all Council vessels from this position. Lock targets. Don't fire, just lock. Captain, that will be seen as hostile." "Good. I want them to know we still have teeth." Alarms screamed on every Council vessel as targeting systems locked onto them. Admiral Zorath stared at his display in disbelief. The ancient human ship, damaged and outnumbered, was threatening them. "Sir, should we return fire?" Zorath remembered the historical records. The Battle of Titan's Gate. The Eternal Sentinel holding off 7 dreadnoughts. 7. He now had 12. But that ship had fought legends. That crew had never surrendered. "No. Open a channel to Captain Vasquez." "Captain, this is Admiral Zorath." "What are you doing?" Vasquez's voice was ice. "I'm reminding you, Admiral, that we are not salvage to be picked over. We are not relics to be studied. We are the UHSV Eternal Sentinel, and we are still a warship of humanity. You want to destroy us? You can try. But it will cost you. It will cost you dearly." She paused. "Or we can talk. We can find another way. The choice is yours, Admiral. But make it quickly. My patience has limits." Zorath looked at his officers. Young faces, none of them old enough to remember the containment wars. They did not understand what humans were capable of. What humans could do when cornered. "Stand down from weapons," Zorath ordered. "All ships maintain position, but do not engage unless fired upon." He opened the private channel again. "Captain Vasquez, you have my attention. Let us talk." Vasquez smiled. The first negotiation had succeeded. Now came the hard part, surviving long enough for Earth to reach her. On Earth, in hidden shipyards buried in asteroids, and on the dark side of the moon, humanity's secret fleet began to launch. 20 ships, built over generations in defiance of the treaty. Not as large as Council dreadnoughts, but fast, heavily armed, and crewed by humans who had dreamed their entire lives of reaching the stars. "Admiral," Ross watched them go, and whispered a prayer to gods she did not believe in. "Bring them home. Bring the Sentinel home." In the Shroud Nebula, the Eternal Sentinel waited, wounded but defiant. Its crew numbered only 2,000. Its systems were damaged, but its weapons were ready, and its captain would not surrender. The galaxy watched, and for the first time in 450 years, it remembered why humanity had been feared. The awakening was complete. Now came the reckoning. The price of peace. The negotiations began in the most unlikely of places, the Eternal Sentinel's damaged conference room. Captain Elena Vasquez sat across from Admiral Zorath, with Dr. James Chun serving as mediator. The room still bore scars from the ancient battle. Scorched walls and patched hull plating serving as silent witnesses to humanity's last stand. Zorath was a Kryn, his scaled features unreadable to human eyes. But Vasquez had learned long ago to read body language across species. The way his crest flattened against his skull told her he was uncomfortable. Good. She wanted him uncomfortable. "Captain Vasquez," Zorath began, his translator rendering his words into perfect English. I have been authorized by the Galactic Council to discuss terms for the peaceful resolution of this situation. Resolution? Vasquez leaned forward. Admiral, there is no situation to resolve. We were attacked 452 years ago, forced to flee into this nebula, and we survived. Now we wait to find our species imprisoned. That is the situation that needs resolving. Dr. Chun cleared his throat nervously. Captain, perhaps it would help if you understood the full context. After the containment wars, humanity was deemed too aggressive, too expansionist. The Council feared that allowing humans unrestricted access to space would lead to another conflict. So they caged us like animals, Vasquez said coldly. Tell me, Dr. Chun, do you believe we deserve that? Chun's jaw tightened. No, Captain, I don't. But belief and reality are different things. The Council has maintained the quarantine for over 4 centuries. Every attempt to negotiate an end to it has failed. The other species fear us. They should, Commander Stone muttered from his position behind Vasquez. Zoreth's crest rose slightly, a sign of irritation. That attitude, Commander, is precisely why the quarantine exists. Humanity has proven itself aggressive and unpredictable. The containment wars cost millions of lives across a dozen species. Vasquez raised a hand, silencing Stone before he could respond. Admiral, I fought in those wars. I know what we did. I also know what was done to us. The Council wanted our worlds. They wanted our resources. They attacked our colonies and called it peacekeeping. We defended ourselves, and they called it aggression. That is not how the historical records present it. History is written by the victors, Admiral. You should know that. Silence fell over the room. Vasquez could hear the hum of the Sentinel's struggling life support systems, a reminder that her ship was dying by degrees. Oracle had estimated they had perhaps 3 weeks before critical systems failed completely. 3 weeks to change the fate of her species. What do you want, Captain? Zoreth asked finally. Freedom. For my crew, for my ship, and for humanity. I want the quarantine ended. I want Earth released from its cage. I want humanity to take its place among the stars again. Zoreth made a sound that might have been laughter. Impossible. The Council will never agree to those terms. Too many species remember the wars. Too many fear what humanity might become. Then we have nothing to discuss. Vasquez stood. Dr. Chun, please escort the Admiral back to his shuttle. Wait, Zoreth remained seated. Captain, be reasonable. Your ship is damaged. You have barely 2,000 crew. My fleet has grown to 15 dreadnoughts. Even if you fought with all the skill your species is known for, you cannot win. Vasquez turned back to him, her eyes hard. Admiral, do you know why this ship is called the Eternal Sentinel? It's because we never stop watching. Never stop fighting. Never stop protecting humanity. You can destroy this vessel. You can kill every person aboard. But you cannot kill what we represent. You cannot kill hope. She leaned on the table, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. And if you try, Admiral, I promise you this. We will take so many of your ships with us that the Council will remember this day for another 450 years. Is that the legacy you want? Zoreth studied her for a long moment. You would sacrifice your crew for pride? Not for pride, Admiral. For principle. For the idea that no species should be caged. For the belief that humanity deserves to be free. Vasquez straightened. Now, do we have anything else to discuss, or are we done here? Before Zoreth could respond, Oracle's voice echoed through the room. Captain, I am detecting multiple spatial distortions at the edge of the system. Analysis suggests incoming vessels using human design faster than light drives. Vasquez felt her heart race. How many? 20 contacts. Identifying now. Captain, they are broadcasting old Earth military codes. It is the relief fleet from Earth. The room erupted. Stone whooped with joy. Dr. Chun looked stunned. Admiral Zorath's crest flattened completely against his skull, a sign of extreme alarm. Impossible, Zorath hissed. Earth has no fleet. The treaty forbids it. Vasquez smiled, and it was not a kind expression. It appears, Admiral, that humanity has been keeping secrets. Dr. Chun, how long have we been preparing? Chun's shock transformed into a grin. Since the treaty was signed, Captain. Every generation built a few ships. Hidden in asteroids, in lunar caves, in places the Council never thought to look. We've been waiting for a reason to launch them. And you're that reason, Captain, Chun continued. The moment word reached Earth that the Eternal Sentinel had been found, the order went out. Everything we built, everyone who trained in secret, they're all coming here. Zorath activated his communicator, speaking rapidly in his own language. Vasquez caught enough to understand he was calling for reinforcements, reporting the human fleet's arrival. Admiral, Vasquez said calmly, I suggest we continue our negotiations. It seems the situation has changed. The Council fleet repositioned quickly. 15 dreadnoughts formed a defensive perimeter, their weapons charged and ready. On the Sentinel's bridge, Lieutenant Tanaka worked frantically to bring more systems online. Main reactor is warming up, Tanaka reported. We'll have full power in 30 minutes. Weapon systems coming online now. Captain, we can fight if needed. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Vasquez replied, studying the tactical display. The Earth fleet was approaching fast, their ships smaller than Council dreadnoughts, but numerous and determined. 20 human vessels against 15 Council warships, with the Sentinel caught in the middle. Captain, incoming transmission from the Earth fleet, the communications officer announced. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was aged but strong. Eternal Sentinel, this is Admiral Catherine Ross, Earth Defense Fleet. Sorry we're late. We got here as fast as we could. Vasquez felt emotions threaten to overwhelm her. Admiral Ross, this is Captain Vasquez. Your timing is impeccable. We've been tracking Council communications since you woke up, Captain. Figured you might need some backup. How's your ship? Damaged but functional. We can fight if necessary. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. I'm opening a channel to the Council fleet now. Stand by. Ross's voice shifted, becoming harder. Council fleet, this is Admiral Ross. You are currently threatening a sovereign human military vessel. Stand down and withdraw, or face the consequences. Admiral Zorath's response was immediate. Admiral Ross, Earth is in violation of the Soul Treaty. Your fleet should not exist. Return to Earth immediately or be destroyed. The treaty was signed under duress, Admiral. It was never legitimate. And it ends today. On the Council flagship, Zorath faced a difficult decision. He had 15 dreadnoughts. The humans had 20 ships plus the Sentinel. In a straight fight, his forces might win, but the casualties would be catastrophic. The Council would blame him for starting a new war, but if he backed down, he would be showing weakness. Other species might question the Council's authority. The carefully maintained peace could shatter. Admiral, his tactical officer said quietly, we're receiving reports from the Council homeworlds. 4 member species are calling for diplomatic solutions. They do not want another war with humanity. Zorath felt the weight of history pressing down on him. His grandfather had fought in the containment wars. He had seen what humans could do when pushed to extremes. He had watched them turn losses into victories through sheer determination and sacrifice. Sir, orders? Zorath made his decision. Stand down weapons. Maintain defensive positions only. Open a channel to all parties. When the channel opened, Zorith spoke carefully. "Captain Vasquez, Admiral Ross, I am authorized to propose a ceasefire while the Council considers this situation. No one wants another war." "We don't want war either, Admiral," Vasquez replied. "We want freedom. We want the quarantine ended. That decision is beyond my authority. But I can arrange for a full Council assembly to hear your case. It would be the first time in 400 years that humans have addressed the Council directly." Ross cut in. "And what guarantee do we have that this isn't a trap? That you won't use the time to bring in more ships? You have my word as an officer. And more practically, you have your fleet. If the Council acts in bad faith, you can respond." Vasquez considered the offer. It wasn't perfect, but it was more than they'd had an hour ago. "Admiral Zorith, we accept your proposal on one condition. The Eternal Sentinel is allowed to repair and resupply. We need time to heal our ship and our crew." "Agreed. You may use your Earth fleet vessels for supplies. But, Captain, understand that many Council species will oppose ending the quarantine. You will face significant resistance." "We've faced resistance before, Admiral. We're still here." Over the next 2 weeks, the Shroud Nebula became an unlikely meeting place. Earth fleet vessels docked with the Sentinel, transferring supplies, spare parts, and personnel. Engineers from Earth worked alongside the Sentinel's ancient crew, marveling at technology that was simultaneously outdated and advanced beyond anything they had seen. Captain Vasquez spent her time learning about the Earth she had missed. Dr. Chun became her guide to 4 centuries of history, explaining how humanity had survived behind the quarantine wall. "We adapted," Shen explained as they walked through the Sentinel's repaired sections. "We couldn't expand outward, so we expanded inward. Earth is more populated now than in your time, but we've learned to live sustainably. We had to. And the resistance? How did you hide ships from the Council?" Chun smiled. "Carefully. Very carefully. We used asteroid mining as cover. Built shipyards in places the Council never inspected. Trained crews in secret. Every generation passed the knowledge to the next. Some of us never believed we'd see the day when the ships would launch. But we kept building anyway. Why? After 400 years, why not accept the situation? Because we're human, Captain. Because we look at the stars and we need to reach them. It's in our nature. The Council tried to breed that out of us, tried to make us accept our cage. But you can't kill the human spirit. You can only contain it for a while." Vasquez looked out a viewport at the Earth fleet vessels. Each one represented generations of secret hope, of quiet defiance. "We won't waste this chance, Dr. Chun. We can't." The call came on the 14th day. The Galactic Council had agreed to hear humanity's case. Representatives from 30 species would gather on the neutral station of Harmony Point. Captain Vasquez would speak for humanity, with Admiral Ross and Dr. Chun supporting her. "It's unprecedented," Chun explained as they prepared for the journey. "The Council hasn't allowed human representatives since the treaty was signed. Many species will be hostile. Some will walk out rather than listen. But others, the younger species who weren't involved in the containment wars, they might be sympathetic. Then we speak to them," Vasquez said. "We show them that humanity has changed, that we can be trusted." Commander Stone looked skeptical. "Have we changed, Captain? If the Council attacks, we'll fight. That's not so different from 450 years ago. The difference, Marcus, is that now we're fighting for the right to exist peacefully, not for conquest. We're fighting for freedom, not empire. That matters." The journey to Harmony Point took 3 days. The Eternal Sentinel traveled with an escort of both Earth and Council vessels, an uneasy peace maintained by mutual necessity. As they approached the massive diplomatic station, Vasquez felt the weight of what was coming. Asterisk. 30 species would judge humanity. 30 species would decide if Earth's cage would finally open, or if it would be locked forever. Harmony Point was beautiful, a spinning ring of crystal and metal that gleamed in the light of a distant star. Inside, the council chamber was vast, with seating for hundreds of delegates. At the center stood a single platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Vasquez stood on that platform and looked up at the gathered representatives. So many species, so many different forms of life. Some she recognized from historical records. Others were completely new, species that had joined the council during humanity's long imprisonment. Honored delegates, she began, her voice amplified through the chamber. My name is Captain Elena Vasquez. 452 years ago, I commanded the UHSV Eternal Sentinel in defense of human colonies. I fought in the containment wars. I witnessed the violence and the tragedy that led to Earth's quarantine. She paused, letting her words sink in. I am not here to deny what happened. Humans made mistakes. We were aggressive, expansionist, and yes, we were dangerous. But we were also fighting for survival, for the right to exist among the stars. A delegate from the Kryn Empire stood. Captain, your species nearly destroyed the peace that had existed for millennia. Why should we trust you now? Because we've had 450 years to learn from our mistakes. Because Earth has changed. Because we're not asking for empire or conquest. We're asking for freedom. The freedom to travel, to trade, to exist as equals among the galactic community. Another delegate, this one from the Thelian Collective, rose. And if we refuse? If we maintain the quarantine? Vasquez met their eyes. Then you will have proven that the Council rules through fear, not justice. You will have shown that rehabilitation is impossible, that mistakes can never be forgiven. Is that the message you want to send to the galaxy? Admiral Ross stepped forward. Delegates, Earth has complied with every term of the treaty for 4 centuries. We have not attacked Council vessels. We have not attempted to break the quarantine through force. We have waited, patiently, for the day when we might be judged ready to rejoin galactic civilization. Yet you built a secret fleet, another delegate pointed out. We built defenses, Ross corrected. Ships to protect Earth if the Council ever decided that quarantine was not enough, that extinction was preferable. We built hope, not weapons of conquest. Dr. Chun spoke last. I was born on Earth, 250 years after the containment wars ended. I never saw the conflict. I only lived with its consequences. Every human child grows up looking at the stars and knowing we cannot reach them. We grow up with the shame of our ancestors' mistakes. But we also grow up with the determination to prove we're better than our past. He looked around the chamber. Some of you represent species that made mistakes, that fought wars, that learned and grew. You were given second chances. We're asking for the same opportunity. Judge us not by what we were, but by what we can become. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some delegates called for maintaining the quarantine indefinitely. Others argued for a gradual lifting of restrictions. A few, surprisingly, called for immediate and complete freedom for humanity. Finally, the Council Arbiter called for a vote. The question before us is simple. Should the quarantine of Earth be ended? Each delegate will cast their vote. A 2/3 majority is required for passage. Vasquez held her breath as the votes were tallied. The chamber fell silent, 30 species deciding the fate of humanity. The vote is complete, the Arbiter announced. 20 votes in favor of ending the quarantine. 8 votes against. 2 abstentions. The measure passes. For a moment, Vasquez couldn't breathe. Then the reality hit her. Freedom. After 450 years, humanity was free, but the Arbiter wasn't finished. However, the Council imposes the following conditions. Earth must accept Council observers for a transitional period of 50 years. Human military vessels will be limited in number and firepower. Any aggressive actions will result in immediate reimposition of quarantine. And humanity must pay reparations to species affected by the containment wars. Ross stepped forward. We accept these terms. As they left the chamber, Shun turned to Vasquez. We did it, Captain. We actually did it. Vasquez looked back at the council chamber, then up at the stars visible through the station's crystal dome. No, Dr. Chun, you did it. You and every human who refused to give up hope for 4 centuries. I just helped finish what you started. On the Eternal Sentinel, the crew received the news with cheers and tears. Commander Stone found Vasquez on the bridge, staring at Earth's sun visible in the distance. Orders, Captain? Vasquez smiled. Plot a course for Earth, Marcus. After 452 years, it's time to go home. The journey back took 2 weeks. The Eternal Sentinel led a convoy of human ships, with council vessels maintaining a respectful distance. As they approached Earth's solar system, Vasquez stood on her bridge and watched humanity's homeworld grow larger on the VIEWSCRE. It was more beautiful than she remembered. Blue and green and alive, despite everything. Despite the cage, despite the restrictions, humanity had survived. More than survived, they had endured. Captain, Oracle said quietly, I am detecting massive energy signatures from Earth's surface. It appears the entire planet is celebrating. Vasquez laughed, tears streaming down her face. They should celebrate, Oracle. Today, humanity takes its first step back to the stars. And this time, we won't be stopped. As the Eternal Sentinel entered Earth orbit, the planet below erupted in light. Cities illuminated, fireworks launched, broadcasts sent messages of joy to the returning ship. The vessel that had been lost for centuries had come home, and it had brought freedom with it. Admiral Ross's voice came through on a private channel. Captain Vasquez, on behalf of Earth, welcome home. Your crew will be honored as heroes. We were just doing our duty, Admiral. You did more than that, Captain. You gave humanity hope when we needed it most. You reminded us that we're capable of greatness. That's worth more than any victory. Vasquez looked at her crew, at the Earth below, at the stars beyond. The galaxy had watched the Eternal Sentinel awaken. They had watched humanity demand its freedom. And in the end, they had watched the flags lower in respect. Not in surrender, but in acknowledgement. Humanity had earned its place among the stars once more. Oracle, Vasquez said softly. Log entry for posterity. The Eternal Sentinel has completed its final mission. We have brought our people home, and the Sentinel can finally rest. Logging complete, Captain. It has been an honor to serve with you. The honor was mine, Oracle. The honor was mine. As the ship settled into orbit, Captain Elena Vasquez looked out at the galaxy and smiled. The awakening was complete. The cage was broken, and humanity's endless journey to the stars could finally continue. The price of peace had been high. 450 years of confinement. Generations who never touched the stars. But the payment had been made, and now humanity was free. The Eternal Sentinel had lived up to its name. It had watched over humanity, even in death. And now, in its second life, it had set them free. The galaxy had watched. The galaxy had listened. And the galaxy had finally understood. Humanity was home. And this time, they were staying. Asterisk.